shoestring budget or maybe zero budget. So it's nice to see you all here. Thank you for all sitting closer to each other because that's the first thing that we're going to do. You've gotten an intro of me. You're going to make sure that you at least know one person who's sitting next to you because you're going to talk to them for the rest of today. So say hi if you don't know what their name is. Please get their name. And if you don't have somebody who's sitting next to you, you can like move around a little bit. You're going to have to talk, yes. Okay. Does everybody have somebody that they're going to be able to talk to throughout the rest of the presentation? All right, we're already doing things on a shoestring budget, so we're already just creating these tight connections here. So what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to be covering continuous discovery. I'm going to tell you a real story, real-ish story, and then we're going to be talking about the Discovery Toolkit, 6 tools that you'll be able to use already on Monday. So hopefully you've got something super, super concrete by the time that you leave here. There's a part 2 to the story that we'll get to after that, and then I'll give you the links to where you can read a little bit more. Hi, if you're just coming in, please find somewhere to sit. All right. So a question to you guys who've been, especially for those of you who've been to all of the product track talks today, are you feeling a little bit overwhelmed by how to get your company to do product better? Yes, aren't we all? So this is what we're going to be talking about. I really don't want us to be too worried about it. And the tools that I'll give you today, you're not going to have to go around creating some kind of product operating model. You're not going to have to do any of that stuff. This is really stuff that you can just start doing tomorrow with the teams that you have, with the organization that you have, with the leaders that you have, with no budget. So we're all going to be okay. And I'm going to tell you a little story about a team that did this. So I worked on this team a long time ago, and so we can be very anonymous here. And it was a very interesting story. The team, if you saw the earlier product talks, like, you know, when the CEO says, hey, I want you to build feature X and just go and do it without asking questions, that's what happened to this team. Feature X was a 160-page document describing what it is that they were supposed to be building. It was really, really huge. The team took a look at this and said, you know, we can barely read this in the 6 months that you're giving us to implement this. So they did a super smart thing. They did something called assumption mapping, and I'm going to be talking about more about these tools as we go along. So they took a look at what it is that was possible to actually do, feasible, what is it that they could get done, and what is it that would sell to the users. And they came up with a 3-page document which listed actual customer needs. So that's where they started with this one. They went against what the company wanted to do here, which is why they had 0 discovery budget. So there was no company that was going to say, yes, let's do this, because the company said, do this thing, and they were saying, no, we're going to start on this end. So this is a little bit of a picture of how they went through with the value that they were creating. It's a team. They're burning money, obviously, just by working on it. So value for the first month goes down when they're not actually providing any value. So by the end of the first month, we're at negative money going into this one. In the meantime, the team has worked with design sprints, paper prototypes, customer interviews, and they tried to actually validate this by creating a fake button of the feature to see how many people would be even interested in accessing this feature. This helped them validate the ideas that they were thinking about and the direction that they were going in. So over the next 3 months, they were able to implement the first version. You can see there's this like upward trajectory. After that, they started making enough money at least to cancel out the costs of having that team. And then by the end of 3 months, after they've done more customer interviews, prototypes, and co-designing workshops with customers, they're really doing pretty well. The feature is earning money for the company and creating value. At that point, they were still thinking there were quite a few customer needs from their original discovery work that they had done that they thought maybe this would be something that would be helpful to help address with the product. So they added a couple more features, saw a real bump in revenue that they were getting and in usage, and it was going really well. At this point, they go back to the company. They're like, 6 months. We're doing pretty good. Numbers looking great. The company's like, wait, but we gave you like this 160-page spec that you haven't done. They're like, okay, is there anything on that 160-page spec that you really, really need us to do? So that was the next 2 months. They made a few more small improvements, added some things. As you can see, not a whole lot of added to that value that they created. So at that point, the team said, well, actually, if we move over to higher value work, we'll keep earning better money for the company. This is pretty good for where we are at the feature. So the team stops working on it. Zero budget for discovery. So what did they do? That's what we're going to be talking about. But I was thinking, I've just got a chance to tell my story. It's Friday, it's 3 p.m. You guys have probably been hearing a lot of people talk. So for those of you who introduced yourselves to somebody who you're sitting next to, you can talk to that person. And if you walked in after the intros, please introduce yourself to somebody. And I'd like to give you 5 minutes to talk about a story that you have of a team that succeeded in building the right thing. So I'd like you to think back in time. When have you seen one of your teams do this, or a team close to you do that? And please tell that story to your neighbor. So we've got about 5 minutes to do that, okay? All right, I'm gonna interrupt you all now. I hear that you all have stories, because we're all talking a lot, and with the languages that I understand, I hear that we are sharing stories about this. I really wanted to share with you then, so what are the tools? So I'm really glad to hear that you have success stories for building the right thing. You can absolutely build the right thing. There are so many success factors in it. And what I really want to share with you are the small steps that you can take. So if you're feeling this overwhelm, that there have been just huge things that we need to do, we need to change, transform our organization, do big things, you really don't need to. You can do this with the team that you've got, with the things that you're working with today. And the way that I want us to talk about how we can do this, so these small steps that you can do already today, is continuous discovery. We've seen some pictures where that's included this, but I'm just going to quickly go through this and give you my point of view on what this could look like. So if you've got an opportunity or an objective, if you're going to be doing continuous discovery, you're probably looking at things in the problem space, so that's what it is that we're going to build, and in the solution space. So the problem space is trying to figure out that we're building the right thing, because if we build the wrong thing, obviously it doesn't matter if we build it right. And the solution space is doing the build it right. So that's your discovery and your delivery. You've probably even seen these double diamond images where you're diverging and then converging on the problem space and diverging and converging on the solution space. But what if we didn't think of them this way? What if we thought of them as problem spaces that coexisted? They're not in stages. They're not one thing that happens before something else happens, but rather something that's existing at the same time. And this is where we talk about continuous discovery, right? So you've got an opportunity or an objective, and you feed this into both of these spaces at the same time. You're not going to be able to figure out the right solution, so you're not going to be able to diverge and converge to the full, complete right solution right away, which is why you would want to do this iteratively and in steps. You come up with a first step, you try it out, you go back into the problem space. You've learned new things at this point. You've learned new ways of doing things, new solutions. So you're building the right thing as you're building it right, but you're doing it the whole time continuously. So no pretty double diamonds or triple diamonds here, just a little bit of clouds and spaces, but hopefully this helps us get to where we want to go. And I'm just wondering, like, when you hear this, so if you're doing things in parallel, and I think in my story, like, that was what the team did, I'm wondering if you've got examples that your team or organization already today is potentially doing continuous discovery. So I'd like you to think about it, and then think of, because I'm willing to bet you at least one way, and share it with your neighbor who you've been talking to for a little bit. So what is one example that your organization's already doing continuous discovery today? All right. Glad to hear that it sounds like there were some examples out there. And if you've thought of these examples, I just want to say that that's what we want to do here is sort of build on them. And I just want to give you, I don't know that these are going to be like revolutionary, but hopefully 6 tools that you've probably seen before, but they can really start using tomorrow or Monday, as the case may be, unless you are working on Saturday, but maybe please don't. Okay, here are the things that I think are the easiest to use regardless of what you're doing. So the first thing that the team that I worked on used was assumption mapping. And really with assumption mapping, you're just trying to figure out, like, does this actually make sense? So you're identifying what it is that has to be true for your idea to succeed. And there are different ways to measure this, so you can choose what factors you're going to use, but my recommendation would be to think about desirability. So is there actually a customer need for this? Does your customer actually want it? This one's sometimes a little bit tricky. Customers don't always know exactly what it is that they need, but here, this is where you're going to try to make that best guess and understand, right? Does my customer actually want this? Can we deliver it? So is it feasible? Do we have the technology to build it? I know a lot of people want to be using AI in ways that AI can't still be used today, but maybe in the future it will be. But is it right now? So does the solution that you're thinking of or the problem space that you have, is it something that we can actually deliver towards? And does it have a sustainable business model? So are we actually going to make some money off of it? I know in the keynote speaker, right, like she was telling us the story where conversion rate goes down instead of going up. That's really not what you want to be building. So you don't want to build something that's going to remove your value for your company. The second one that I have is fake it till you make it. So this is where you simulate a feature to see if the users actually engage with it. So one of the easy ways to do this is a button is saying like, hey, if you want to sign up for this thing, like our product is coming out in a couple of months, you can sign up for it here. So you can do this in a lot of different ways to just gauge interest and see if people are actually interested in it. Would they click on it? Would they do it? And for the exercise that we're going to be doing later on, actually one interesting way to do this could also be to put your idea, if it's a brand new product, on Kickstarter and see, will people give me money to fund my idea or not? Third one, rapid prototyping. So a lot of times when we associate like, doing prototypes and stuff, it's like, this big team is doing all the prototypes, like trying to see like if it's going to work or not work and doing the tech work for it, probably actually creating a product. But figure out a fast way to create that product. It's okay that it's throwaway code and that it's throwaway mock-ups, whatever it is. And you can really do, the cheapest way to do this is to actually put it on paper and like go and show somebody, hey, here's my flow of what it is that I'm doing. But you probably have a lot of tools that you already use today in your offices that you can use for this. So if you've got tools like Figma or any of the other design tools, you can use those, but PowerPoints work really well as well for showing flows through products and whatever it is that you're doing for those. So I would say super quick mock-ups that take you a couple of hours to make. Go talk to somebody, try it out on them, see what they think. You get feedback fast before you've spent a lot of time working on your product. The fourth way is leveraging internal proxies. I think this is one of the ways that we use the least often, that we should be using more. I worked at a company that had a huge support department, and it was the most interesting experience ever to go and sit with them actually for the day and listen to the support calls that they're getting. These are the users who are unhappy and unable to use the product in some way or struggling in some way. You get a lot of feedback by just talking to these support people. So you can either go and sit in on some support calls or review some of the tickets that are coming in to your product to see what is it that the users are actually having issues with and pain points that they're doing. Again, doesn't cost us a whole lot of money since we should have access to them right away. And next one, I've put the ones that are maybe going to feel like they're a little bit more work, but they're still for free. So this one's having a weekly user call, and it specifically says on here to talk to the users about what the problems are that they're facing, not features. Again, this is because users aren't always reliable about what the solution is that will solve their problem, but they can absolutely tell you what their problem is, but they don't understand what you could possibly do to solve that, right? Like they don't know what the limitations are or what the boundaries are of the stuff that we can deliver and create. So you really want to understand what are their problems so that you can figure out what solutions it is to put there. And if you've got a 15-minute call with a current customer every week and just, calling in, checking in to see how it's going, what it is that they're working on. If they're an internal customer, even easier, but I have to say that most of us, for internal customers, do this even less. So if your customer is internal to you, go and make friends with that person, have coffee with them once a week and see how they're doing. Ask to sit in on them actually using your product. Like, what do they do? What are these shortcuts that they try to do that are really crazy that might give you the idea for how to improve the product? And finally, the last one is co-designing with the users. Like I said, users sometimes are unreliable about what it is that you might build for them, but if you've got an idea and you have an idea of what it is that you could be doing, that's when you really would want their help to say, hey, I was going to try to solve your problem this way. And if it's like this great solution that's actually going to help them out, they're going to be great at helping you design it better for them because they know what their pain points are in a way that you don't. So sitting with them at that point becomes a really, really good idea for doing it. So super, super simple ideas. And I was thinking that maybe we can source a few more ideas. So this is a real product that I found on Kickstarter. And I'm just wondering what you would do here with this. So you're going to pair up again with your neighbor. The product that I found on Kickstarter is Outfit Helper. Our app picks outfits for you from your own closet. We also help you sell or rent your clothes. What would you do if you were advising this person who created this app? How would you advise them to figure out one cheap way to test to see if people actually want this product? So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to talk about it again. The instruction is, in case you didn't understand it either, the instruction is to figure out, like, how would you advise the person who wants to create this app to figure out if users actually want it or not? Like, what could they do? What's a cheap discovery way for them to figure out if users want this product? All right. Hopefully you came up with one way, maybe more than one way to help them figure it out. And maybe that's a way that would help you as well work with discovery. Before we end with this, I don't want you to leave here and still think, well, these were pretty simplistic, so maybe we can just skip them and just not do anything, because maybe if we were to do other things, they would be too expensive. So I promised you part 2 to the story. It's not always that you can actually see what would happen if you did something a different way. Like if you had a natural A/B test and figure out what would happen. In this case, we really did. So here's where we left off. We had the blue team that had taken that 160-page spec, done a whole bunch of discovery work on it, delivered the things that the user wanted. By 6 months, had something that was pretty good value, and tried to do some extra things. And that didn't necessarily make a big difference to what they were doing. The company, though, had this expectation. They thought this is where the product would land on monetization. And when they saw the results after 6 months, they were like, whoa, that's not at all in line with what we were thinking of. That was totally the wrong way. We don't think that we should do this. They had another product line where they could actually test their theory on that again. So they gave this 160-page spec again to another team, Orange team, and they said, look, we don't want to hear anything about not following this spec. The team that didn't follow our spec got results that were not at all in line with what we were expecting, so we want you to just do what we're telling you to do. We know that if you don't do it, you're not going to succeed, and as you saw before, their expectations were pretty high. So they set up with a larger team. They're like, okay, well, the previous team was a bit scared, thought that they weren't big enough, so we'll give these guys a little bit of a bigger team. And they set them working. It took them a while to get going. And as you can see, of course, they're not delivering any value for the first 6 months because it's a big team working on all of this stuff that they're not necessarily testing as they're going along. And what happened? Well, after 6 months, the company was like, well, we gave you the bigger team, so we were imagining that, right, like, if you remember the curve on the previous slide, like, 6 months, that's where we're supposed to be seeing this revenue. That's not working. Maybe we have the wrong person leading this team, so we'll just bring in a new team lead. The new team lead was like, oh, we need also a few more new people because, like, that's going to make things a lot better, which is what they do. And now with a small restart of the team, they work for another 6 months trying to get this product out the door. And to finish my story, I'm going to have to adjust my scale a little bit. That's a little bit unexpected. A month later, so now it's been about a year that they've been working on this. It's been quite a long time. This is how much money the company is not making in that year. They release crap. I kind of similar story to what happened this morning at the keynote, but what happened is that actually this product cannibalized on one of the some of the other features that were there and did not earn as much money as the other features, which meant it was actually net losing money. That's not the situation that you want to be in after a year of development. The team, bless their souls, worked real hard to at least stop that money disappearing and really tried hard at getting changes put in to get them back to something that was actually making money. And after a few months, they had to cancel that project. So not doing discovery is really not an alternative. I know for most people, you won't have this opportunity to be able to test this out. But what happened after this is that there was greater trust for the folks who worked on the first product to keep delivering. And the first product kept delivering the value that it had with no team working on it. That's that one little bump that you see there. It keeps delivering value over time. It wasn't the huge big value bump that the company was hoping for to begin with, but it was the thing that users actually wanted and were willing to pay and wanted to do. So you don't need a huge transformation to do better product. All you need are just a few tools and start doing some continuous discovery. I was thinking maybe you could think about it yourself and hopefully have one of these tools. What's one discovery method that you think you can start working on Monday? Share with your neighbor. What will you do on Monday? All right. Hopefully you've got some starts of an idea and you can keep talking about it later on. The ideas that I talked about here, I just wanted to give you 6 to get you started, but these are 6 really easy ones that you can do. If you want to learn about some more of them, I know that there's been some discussions about Marty Kagan and others, but Marty Kagan's book, Inspired, is just a book full of discovery tools that you can be using. A lot of them are things that you can also start using on Monday, and if you don't want to read this, AI is your friend here and will be able to give you a summary of what those tools are, and if you tell it what your problem is, it'll probably also give you a suggestion for which of these tools to use. Teresa Torres' book, Continuous Discovery Habits, is also really, really good for talking about what are the different tools that you could be using there. Again, AI is also your friend if you don't want to spend your weekend reading it. And I would love to hear from you about how your experiments go, so please connect with me on LinkedIn and let me know what it is that you've tried. Thank you so much.